What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. Um, Today I kind of want to talk a little bit about the schedule release. The dust has settled a little bit here. Cowboys are starting up OTAs this week. Awesome. I think they're pretty much done making moves till after June 1, because after June 1 is when a lot of teams will, um, cut players that they deem too expensive. You'll have an influx of new free agents on the market. So maybe they do something else at that point, but I pretty much think they're done until that time. And even at that time, they might end up adding, say, one, two players. But so let's get into the schedule. We talked about the schedule being released, or at least the opening game, the Philadelphia Eagles. I kind of let you guys know how I felt about that one, how it was going to be a tough game for Dallas coming in, how they had a little bit of an advantage with a new coaching staff, but that the Eagles roster still has a massive talent advantage. Now, a lot of times I don't like to go through and do the win loss, win loss, win loss, 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 win, win, win until we get closer to the season. And that's because between now and then, there's going to be camp injuries. There's going to be people that get cut from your team, people that you pick up from other teams, just a lot of different variables that can happen over the next few months. But you know what? I said, screw it. Let's go through. Let's check it out. Let's see what we come up with. So, as you could tell by earlier my talk about the Eagles game, I have the Cowboys losing that. That's 0-1. The next week, it's one of their very few 1 o'clock games on the schedule. They don't have many this year. And they play the Giants. You have 10 days to prepare, even though Schottenheimer's a brand new coach. And the Giants added some great talent there with the defensive lineman out of Penn State, Abdul Carter. And then they still also have Malik Neighbors, who's a beast. I still think the Cowboys have more than enough talent to win that game. So if I'm looking at it, I think the Cowboys start off 1-1 and they beat the Giants there. So next game, Chicago Bears 425. This is a familiar spot for the Cowboys. I do expect the Bears to be competitive. I do expect them to be better this year under the new head coach, Ben Johnson, that they got. They do have a receiving tight end that they grabbed in the draft, Loveland. Plus, they already have plenty of talent on the roster. They had DJ Moore out there. They got a couple of good running backs. Roshan Johnson is back there. And they also have Caleb Williams, who should have a much better second year. They went out. They made sure to address some of the problems that they had during the offseason by picking up some offensive linemen. So the Bears have done some things, but I don't know if they're going to be good week 3. And I'm not saying, I told you guys in my last episode that I don't think the Cowboys are going to be peaking to start the season either. But I think week 3, they're better than the Bears. So there you go, Cowboys 2-1. Then Sunday, the Green Bay Packers, 8:20, Sunday Night Football. Until the Cowboys beat the Packers, I just don't know. If you're looking position for position, I think the Cowboys have some good things to be able to challenge the Packers, but I do think the Packers are still, very good in a lot of areas too. So to me, that game is a toss-up, man. So I'm going to give that one to the Packers. So the Cowboys are 2-2. The next game after that, Jets, another 1 o'clock game, very few times. I do like that they have Aaron Glenn as their head coach now, but I don't know if that makes up for some of the talent deficiencies that they have on offense. I actually think the Jets have a couple of good offensive weapons now. I'm not saying their offense is totally devoid of talent. And the defense is okay too, but I just feel like the Jets are always the Jets, right? So give me the Cowboys in that one. Give me the Cowboys the next week at 1 o'clock against the Carolina Panthers. That's another one that, even though they got Tedero McMillan and, they should have Jonathan Brooks back this year to pair with Chuba Hubbard, and it looked like Bryce Young was actually starting to take a step up last year. And the defense has always been pretty okay. I still think they need more talent. The Panthers are just devoid of talent. They are a couple years away from having a talented enough roster. But I do think Tet makes the game at least a little more interesting. But I do think ultimately the Cowboys win that one. So after that, we have the Commanders, October 19th, 425. And I think we actually did pretty good against the Commanders last year. I know that the Commanders are a really good team to the rest of the league, and Jaden Daniels is, he set the world on fire. But I feel like the Cowboys have a little bit more in the pocket for the Commanders than most teams do. We have a Micah Parsons who can chase down Jaden Daniels. Now you're adding a Donovan Azaraku, and then on third down, having both of those guys coming off both sides, and Osa Odigizua coming up the middle. I don't know if he's going to have that much room to escape. So I like the Cowboys in that game. The next week against the Broncos, I see a lot of people talking about the Cowboys, and I didn't know this. I had to go double check it once I heard, I think it was Zach Wolchuk. He was doing Love of the Star with Brian Broaddus. And it was something like the Cowboys hadn't beaten Denver, in Denver since 1995 or something like that. And I had to go, like, that shit is true. So that's a long time, man. And I didn't know that the Broncos had the Cowboys number like that. So naturally, I'm picking the Cowboys. I think they're better than the Broncos. I do not think Bo Nix is going to be able to come in here and get on the Cowboys and beat them all up. I feel like if he does that take-off running BS, that's going to be a problem for him, because this is right around the time where I feel like DeMarvion Overshown will start working his way back into the rotation. So you're going to have that guy there. You're going to have Jack Sanborn there. Plus, like I said, Azaraku and Micah Parsons. You're going to have some fast boys chasing that man down. So he's not going to be able to just take off and run like he was doing this past season and scrambling for a whole bunch of yards. I think our personnel matches up well. Now, their defense is beastly, right? You got Patrick Surtain. Plus, they just drafted Jade Barron, who I think is going to be pretty awesome as well. So when the Cowboys win this one, I do see it being a very low scoring, like, defensive slobber knocker. Both teams really not giving up on the run because the score is going to be low and close anyway. And so I think this is one of those games where having a George Pickens will probably make some difference for you. So after that, we have the Arizona Cardinals on Monday night, 8:15, Monday Night Football. I love when the Cowboys get Monday Night Football games, because that means I don't have to pay attention to anybody else's BS. It's all Cowboys all day. So that'll be beautiful. I can't wait for that. I do think the Cowboys will win. It's going to be in Dallas. I know whenever we play the Cardinals, everybody likes to bring up, again, similar to the Broncos, that Kyler Murray hasn't lost a game in Texas ever. Like, not in high school, not in college. Like, he kicks the crap out of everyone in AT&T Stadium. However, I do think the Cardinals are going to have some problems this year being consistent, right? They're going to be probably one of those middle-of-the-road teams, probably a little bit better than last year, but not quite where they need to be. So even though it's going to be a tough game, it's probably going to be a wild game. It's probably going to be a lot of exciting things that happen, but I have the Cowboys winning that one. So going into the bye week, right, I got the Cowboys losing to the Eagles, and I have the Cowboys losing to the Packers. But that's it. I got them beating everyone else. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-2 going into the bye week, which is crazy. I didn't think I would think that highly of them this year. But like I said, when I do my prediction before the season, that's probably going to be a little bit more accurate of prediction. And I like that the bye week here is at week 10. It's better than the Cowboys have had the last few years. The last few years, they've had their bye weeks very early in the season, and they get beat up, but then they have to go through this long stretch of being beat up, and because they've already had their bye week. So this is nice that they have their bye week in the middle of the season. I can't wait to see if that helps them as far as their health going into the back stretch of the season. So now you come out of the bye week and you get another Monday Night Football game. So you get Monday Night Football, bye week, Monday Night Football. Boom. You got to love the Cowboys. They're going to get all those primetime games. So this game is against the Raiders, and I'm going to be extremely excited for this game because Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers are on the other side. And even though I think the Cowboys do win this game, by then I don't know how Ashton Genty is going to be, right? We've been seeing this dude beast in college as far as breaking tackles and just being a little bowling ball. So it's going to be like, can the Cowboys even tackle this dude? Is Ashton Genty about to come out here and rush it 25 times for like 178 yards and 3 touchdowns? If that's the case, then the Cowboys are going to lose. So there's an asterisk next to this game because I think the Raiders are the most mysterious team on this schedule. But what I do think is that the Cowboys will be able to put up points on the Raiders. So I'm going to go Cowboys in this game. Might be a Monday night shootout. Might be one of those types of games where Ashton Genty is running all up and down the field. Brock Bowers is catching everything. But also CeeDee Lamb is catching everything. And George Pickens is catching everything. And even Jaden Blue rips off a long run or a long touchdown. Kevontae Turpin might have a kickoff. Like, it's just going to be a wild. Just mark this game on your. It's going to be a wild-ass game. It's going to be fun. But our Cowboys are going to win that one. So next week after that, 4:25, Philadelphia Eagles, Sunday game where the Cowboys are used to playing at home. That's that part of the season where it gets tough for us, and we're gonna have to make hay whenever we can. But it ain't gonna be on this one. So again, I think the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Cowboys, so that means the Philadelphia sweeps the Cowboys this season. And there's not much we can do about that. Like Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Now, if we get to that game and Jalen Hurts is lipping around on one leg and Saquon's having his traditional, not like he didn't have it last year, but like he's had in years past, if he starts having his traditional injury problems and things like that, maybe I can revisit and pick that one a little bit differently. But until then, I'm taking the Eagles. So then the following week, also at home, Thanksgiving Day, Kansas City Chiefs coming to town, Patrick Mahomes. I think this is going to be a tough back-to-back because I do think the Cowboys lose again. I think it's just too much to play the Super Bowl winner and the Super Bowl runner-up in back-to-back weeks with only 4 days in between with a person like Pat Mahomes who very rarely loses. And so I know it's crazy. I mean, everybody hated the way the Chiefs looked last year and they went 15-2. And they were just constantly beating everyone and still made it all the way to the Super Bowl, made it all beat, Buffalo in the championship game. And it just did things that people were like, they can't sustain this. They can't keep it going. Now, it caught up to them against Philly, but still, Chiefs were a beast, and I expect them to be just as beastly this year. So now we go to another Thursday game. So a Sunday, Thursday. So not only the 3 games in 10 days, but 4 games in about 16 days because they played the Raiders on Monday night, then Philly on Sunday, then the Chiefs on Thursday, and then again, Detroit on Thursday. So I think this is another one where the Cowboys end up losing this game for a similar reason to the Chiefs and a similar reason to the Eagles. Detroit's just better. Like I said, it could be different. They have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new defensive coordinator. But their roster, top to bottom, is incredible. That head coach is still there. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still there. Jahmyr Gibbs is still there. I don't see the Cowboys finding a way to win this game, especially it being the 3rd game or the 4th game of that 4 games in 16 days. Like, the Cowboys are going to be pretty beat up by the time we get here. And I expect Detroit to pretty much thrash the Cowboys in this game, honestly. So now that's 3 straight losses. Everybody's going to start talking shit about how the Cowboys have been losing and, so much for America's team. Are they really that good? Look they started out fast. So then we'll have the Minnesota Vikings coming to town that Sunday. That'll be Sunday Night Football. I firmly expect the Cowboys to win that game. I think that game will be a very tough defensive battle. Run game will be super important. But I do see the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are a little more talented at the important positions. I think it's, Minnesota's got the 1-2 punch in wide receiver. And because Justin Jefferson's part of that 1-2 punch, of course, I'm going to give them the nod over the Dallas Cowboys. But pretty much any other aspect of the team, I give the nod to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys at that time especially have the better secondary. I think they have the better pass rush. I think they have the better offensive line. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better group of running backs. Aaron Jones, of course, if Aaron Jones is on our team, he is the best running back. But once you start to go down running back 2, 3, 4, 5, I think the Cowboys have the better group. So I think depth, attrition, things like that, Cowboys beat the Minnesota Vikings. Next week after that, the Cowboys have the Chargers. I think this will be one where the Cowboys will kick some butt surprisingly. I don't like the Chargers roster that much. I think the Cowboys, honestly, this will probably be one of the few blowouts on the Cowboys schedule. I think the Cowboys are going to run it up on the Vikings. Not on the Vikings, on the Chargers. I think the Vikings game is going to be close, sorry. On the Chargers, I think they're going to run it up on them. I don't see the Chargers being able to hang with the Cowboys. Maybe early on, in the first halftime, it might be something, Cowboys are up, but it's, 10-6. And then we look at the final score of the game and the Cowboys win it, 28-13 or something like that. So then the following week, they have the Commanders again. And this time, I think this game is going to be much more meaningful than it was when we played the Commanders late in the season last year, which late in the season last year, if you don't recall, we almost beat them with Trey Lance. But then for some reason, they put in Marcus Mariota and he just freaking kicks our ass all up and down the field. Had a beautiful scramble late in the game to kind of ice it for them. I don't see it going that way this year. I do think the Cowboys, just like they got swept by the Eagles, I actually think the Cowboys sweep the Washington Commanders here and pretty much take whatever that spot would have been. So you can see I probably have the Eagles winning the division, but then I have the Cowboys probably being the second team in the division, just barely edging out Washington by way of that sweep. And so then the last game of the season comes down to the Giants again. Again, I think the Giants have added some talent, and it'll depend for this game what the Cowboys need. And I say that because if the Cowboys are swept the Commanders, the Eagles have already won the division, and the Cowboys have clinched a wild card spot, and they're just locked into the 5th seed no matter what. No matter what they do, they're going to be the 5th seed. They're going on a road. Then I see them sitting their starters and the Giants possibly winning. But let's say this is a game where the Cowboys, they swept the Commanders, but maybe they dropped a few games that I didn't have them dropping in the schedule, and they need this game to get in as the 7th seed or to get in as the 6th seed. Then I think they play their starters and they win against the New York Giants. So I'm going to chalk it up to a win just because I think the Cowboys are better than the Giants. But this could all be completely different, that last game, just based on what happens in the previous 16 of them. But let's call this one a win. So let's tally it up. So I got the Cowboys 7-2 going into the bye. And after the bye, I have 1, 2, 5-3. Really? So I have the Cowboys going 12-5? This can't be right. All right. Fuck it. I ain't supposed to say that word, but too late, slipped out. I have the Cowboys going 12-5 right now. I don't know if that's going to hold. Let's see what happens once training camp, injuries, trades, injuries to other players, right? Because I got the Eagles doing this. But if Saquon Barkley goes down the first game, it's over. I got the Cowboys winning 12 games. If Dak gets hurt first game or in training camp, that's over. So many different things can happen between now and then. George Pickens tears apart the locker room. Hey, it's over, right? But let's hope that doesn't happen. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's all I got for you. You can follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can also hit me up at knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. You can hit me up at knockersonthebottom@gmail.com. I'll take your questions below. If you have any comments, anything specific you want me to cover, I'll take them here. I'll take them via email, take them via Twitter. Roll it into a mailbag, make it a formal segment. We're at 66 subscribers, so keep hitting that like button, keep hitting that subscribe button. When we get to 100, we'll give something away. But like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm your host, J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.